Ay, tesorito. Ok, ahí me ayuda con mi celular, que no sé, creo que me va a llamar Adolfo.
Muted.
I'm muted.
There you go.
Oh,
Okay.
so no one heard me do this whole time.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, cool. I think I was muted there. So we're just gonna get started. Again, if you want to come back at 4, if you're more 4 o'clock person, that's fine. There's a link that I'm going to share in the chat that Nico, I think, is going to share on Meetup also, and that has the REPL that I'm going to be working with. Oh wait, you got? I'm not sure how I get back to the chat. Can you post it in the chat for me?
Sure. Send it to.
That's the one I sent it to you.
Okay, got it.
So this is using a system called REPL. So can everyone see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
So REPL is really fun. You can use it to play around with JavaScript. And one thing I like about it is that you can use a variety of languages to test things out. So right now, start with like console.log. Is anyone here familiar with console.log? Some nods, some yeses. So console.log is for printing things out. So when I run this code right here, I'm going to see console.log prints things out. That's the string I passed as a parameter. So console.log has some fun stuff you can do. We won't cover all of that today, but you can put multiple stuff in here. So if I add another argument, I'll see my input change. And it'll all be on one line. And then whenever I log next, we'll come on the next line. Okay? So when you get this link, you sent the link on the chat, Nika?
Yes.
So when you get the link on the chat, what I want you to do is just try to change the console.log message, run the code, make sure it works for you. There'll be a slight reload, and that means that they're making sure that you can save your own code and it's not changing my original code, okay? So load that page, change your console.log, and then run the code. And send Nico a message if you have any trouble with that. So that's step 1. Okay. And do us a favor, once you have that step 1, just send in the chat a quick like +1 or a thumbs up so we know that we can go forward.
Okay, getting lots of dones.
Okay, cool. Okay, let's go to the next step here. Okay, so you can do, one of the neat things about JavaScript, like a lot of languages, is that it'll do these expressions. It'll run the code before it fully evaluates what to pass into the function, which means that when I do console.log 2 plus 3, I'm going to get 5. I'm not going to get 2 plus 3 on the screen. So what I want you to do is, after that addition, in quotes, put 2 plus 3, and take a look at the difference when you run it.
How do we get it out of edit mode? I mean, read-only mode?
It should be, if you change some of the code, then it should like change the name of your REPL and allow you to run things again. Can you share your screen real fast?
I think you have to unshare yours.
Oh, you have to unshare. Okay,
yeah.
so we can't do that right now because I want to lose mine. But you got it? You got it? Okay, awesome.
Great.
Awesome, cool. So if you notice right here, I have 5 here, and then 2 plus 3 there. So I want to try something in the chat. Answer this question. Why is it that the 2 plus 3 results in 5, and the second 2 plus 3 got shown as 2 plus 3? If you know the answer, please post to the chat. Again, the first 2 plus 3 was evaluated. The second one, out there. So one's a string, one's an integer. That's right. And why is it? So that's true. But here, this is an integer, and this is an integer. So what happened here? Shows us text. One's a string. Okay, so here's a question for you. What if I do this? Everyone's saying string versus integer. What's going to happen now? $23. That's right, Chris. And also I say, whoever said string, concatenate. Concatenate is right. These two are going to add together, okay? Now let's take a look at, right below here, we have x equals 2 plus 6, console.log. What's going to happen if I throw in times 2? What are we going to get there? So 14. 14 is a good answer. Okay. So can you unmute Chris and you can tell us why 14?
Yep.
It's order operations, right? So it's going to do the multiplication before it does the addition. So it'll be 6 times 2, which is 12, plus 2 is 14.
Yeah, so computer science takes a lot of its cues from mathematics. Mm-hmm. So here, even though it's a function running, it's not, it's not just pure math. We are going to run that first. So it's going to say, hey, don't run the plus until the times. And sure enough, we run this right now. Boom, we get 14. Okay. So let's go down a little bit, do some assignment. So I have z equals 2, z equals z plus 2. So I have a few of these where you can fill in the variable and see what it logs out. So what's z going to equal here? In the chat, guys, what's z going to equal? 4. Okay, let's give it a shot. Yep, getting 4 there. So how can we have z? So if we don't specify let or var, what does it default to? So if you don't declare let or var, then it's globally scoped, okay? So the reason to use let or var or const is that there are a lot of variables that are commonly used in JavaScript, and we don't want to overwrite someone else's variable. Now here we're just playing around with this global space. So it doesn't really matter what we do here. Very often you'll see variables in this context written like this. $Z. So, but this doesn't do anything special. It just reminds us we're dealing with a global variable, okay? Whenever you have let, const, var, what you're doing is you're saying, okay, this is only going to exist in this scope. Var is going to exist in this function. Let is going to exist between these curly brackets. Const is just these curly brackets, and it shouldn't change. It's a constant. Now, var is older than let and const. And one of the differences you'll see in their implementation is that some new like some older systems won't run const yet, or they won't deal with that well. And you'll see a lot of code, written with var, just because people reuse this code over and over again. And that's fine. var still works. It's still a scope of functions. But what you're trying to do with JavaScript is like use the new syntax more and more. We see this with like double equals and triple equals here. So if you move down a little bit to
Danielle's question.
Oh no, I didn't. Okay, does declaring const let var make the variable strongly typed, more strongly typed? No, it's not about, that's a good question, but it's not about the typing of the variable. It will cause a difference and let to run in strict mode, Danielle. So it will make that difference. Sometimes you'll hear about things running in strict mode and having extra requirements, but the type still like doesn't change there. So let's try that right here. We're gonna say let z equals 2, and then z equals ASDF, and we still get ASDF, so we get the new type, okay? So it doesn't prevent the typing there. Let's try with const, let's reassign. I actually don't know what's gonna happen here. See if it complains. Yeah, so there, it'll complain, but let doesn't restrict us from the typing. Okay, did that answer your question, Danielle? Yeah, okay. So, plus equals, y equals 3, y plus equals 3. What is y? Answers in the chat. 6, good. Okay, so plus equals is just saying this. It's just saying like, hey, y equals this. Okay, so let's try it out. Oh, I lost parentheses. Okay. Sure enough, we get 6. What if we had said y plus plus? This is something that's not in every language. Does anyone know what y plus plus will do for us? Answers in the chat. Adds 1, so we get 4. Yeah, that looks right. Let's run that. We have 7 as a guess. Well, we don't still have the value from before. So something to remember is that when I run this code here, it's starting over every time. We're not retaining the values from before. So it's not like, hey, y is 6 at the end of my code, and then I'm going to add 1 to it. It's like, hey, we're starting from scratch every time here. Something while we're mentioning let and const, to tell you the truth, this code is not very pretty, partially because it doesn't have let. I'd say like when in doubt, as a beginner, use let for your variables, because it'll keep you scoping. You can mix in variable, other stuff. And the other advantage is that you can get used to using the new syntax, so it won't look crazy when you see it later. Okay. Okay, so let's go further. Okay, num equals 4, num2 equals 4, EQ equals num equals num2. Okay, so console.log EQ, what's EQ going to be? Answers in the chat. We get true. We'll say true. Okay. Sure enough, we get true right here. So let's take a look. Let's take this a little bit further. So some of you probably are looking at this and be like equals, equals, equals. That's a little strange. I'm used to double equals from whatever language I started in, whether it's, you know, Java, Ruby, or Python. Why we use triple equals? Here's why. Because back in the day, they used to consider it a feature that you could interpret text basically look at values without looking at types for comparison. So let's try this out. String equals 3 in quotes. Number equals 3 as an integer. Double equals is set to string double equals number. Trips is set to string triple equals number. So when I log those out, I get true, false. Why is one true and one false? Why is it that this expression with double equals gives us true, and this expression gives us false? Someone want to raise their hand? We'll unmute for the answer. No volunteers?
Okay, I think that is because the string is not equal as a number. In the string equal number.
That sounds like Herman. Yeah, that's true. That explains line 27 why that one's false. But why is it that that's false, but line 26 is true?
Okay, because in JavaScript the string in the two equals the string in the number because both are 3, but it doesn't care if it's a string or number.
That's right. Yes, when you use double equals, it only looks at the value, not the type. So this is something to avoid. It's a little trap to avoid. If you see double equals, just make it triple equals in JavaScript. Rarely are we going to really use this as a feature. The strategy with JavaScript is not to break with previous code. So as they've made additions to the language over the years, they've tried to still hold on to the old tools. Some things they'll deprecate, but not too often. Usually they'll just build new tools on top of them. So double equals will still work 90% of the time, but once in a while it'll mess you up because you're saying like, okay, I thought, this would equal that. They're equal, they're equal, they're equal. Oh wait, they're equal there, but not there. So it's just something to be mindful of. When in doubt, use let. When in doubt, use triple equals. Okay, let's look at the conditional logic down here. So if hello.length is less than 6, console.log short, else console.log long. So we want to change this code so we get long instead of short, and we only want to change line 31. So please type your answers into the chat. How would you change line 31 so we get long instead of short?
Swap the greater sign.
Okay, so that I'm on this.
It's from Chris.
Okay, that's an interesting one. Let's try that. So if the hello.length is greater than 6. See, the problem with that one, Chris, is that we're kind of like breaking what we're saying below. So hello suddenly becomes, like if I have a really long word, like really long, and then I run it, it'll still say it's short. Yeah, that's not ideal. I see another one. I like Mally's answer, is change 6 to 3. Just change our idea of what's short, what's long. That's pretty good. Okay, so wait, let's try this again. Oh wait, yeah, I still have this flipped. It's less than 3. There we go. I had this flipped, so. Okay, so now it's a long word if it's less than, sorry, if it's a long word if it's greater than or equal to 3. Okay. Loadout length greater than 6. Yeah, I think the greater than less than works, but just breaks the logic. So you want to be able to reuse this for other words. We want to think about like if we have a really long string, will we get the right answer still or not? Yeah. So in this case, I think it does. But if we just flip this, it went. So I think that's short. Some things to think about with JavaScript here. one thing is that the curly brackets are used for functions and they're used for if blocks. The curly brackets are very useful, but you don't actually need them for one-liners. If we did an if block that was just on the next line, you get away with no curly brackets. But as soon as you go to another line after that, you need those curly brackets. It'll get confused. So my tip here is just always use them, even if it's a single line, because when you add that second line, it's really easy to forget that you were like, oh, I think it'll look more elegant without them. And then your code will break.
Can I ask a quick syntax question since we're talking about syntax?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So I was working in VS Code, and I was using Prettier to format, and it added semicolons to everything. Is that should we be using semicolons or should we not be using semicolons?
So the semicolons are now optional, and a lot of the time that they'll get added for you depending on what environment you're working in. Sometimes when your code gets transpiled, it'll add the semicolons for you because it'll try to create a version that's going to run in your browser. Like let's say you're working with React and you're saying okay, I'm translating from the JSX file to the build of JavaScript I want. It'll add those semicolons. Because they're optional, when I'm teaching, you'll see me ignore them. But when I usually write JavaScript, I'll add them. The reason I ignore them is because I don't want you to do something for style points or an example that's only going to mess you up. For instance, if I add a semicolon here, I'm fine, that's correct. But if I accidentally add the semicolon here, then this should throw an error for me. No. Oh, that code didn't run. Sorry. Yeah, that code didn't run because we're in long here. So yeah. And now we'll get error. Yeah. So I just ignore them because it's only going to cause more errors for beginners. As you get comfortable, they're just for ending lines. And these days, it's mainly just good style. So you'll see this across languages. You'll see this when you're writing SQL. You'll see this when you're writing CSS. You'll see this all over the place. You can even do it in languages like Ruby. You can put multiple lines on one line, but just use a semicolon to indicate you're starting a new line of logic there. Good style is to use them, but here I'm just not putting them in because there's another point that we can trip over. That's a good question. Other questions on the conditionals? No? Okay. So let's review some of this concatenation we just saw a second ago. Hi equals the string hello. So if I uncomment this line and I say console.log hi, comma, hi plus hi, I want you to type into the chat, predict what this is going to print out. Try to predict it exactly.
Good. Yeah.
Okay, I think we mostly got this right. So it's going to be hello, then hello, hello.
Allie,
Okay.
you changed your hello to hi.
Yeah, she's got it now. Yeah. Okay. So again, this is concatenation. There actually is interpolation in JavaScript also, but you have to use backticks. It's gonna be a little annoying, but yeah, I think it's good to understand you can do this. This is most often how people combine information in strings, whether they're doing it with HTML or simple string values. Okay, let's start to talk about loops. So you may have seen this loop in other languages. It's a for loop. So the for loop is one of the situations where you're going to use semicolons that matter. Here, I recommend using let here. What will let do right here in my for loop? Does anyone know? What's the purpose of let? We mentioned it a few minutes ago.
I think it makes it unique to this for statement, so it won't change any i's that are global variables.
That's right. So if you try to print it afterwards, you try to use I on line 48, it'll error out. But if you do it inside line 47, you know, and above, you'll be fine. And that's just nice because then, you know, you can have different loops using the same variable and it's not a big deal. Because frequently you're going to use things like I for index or, you know, like POS for position or something. You don't want to have to worry about using unique variable names every time. You could use var also, but think about it, like what's the issue with var? Var is scoped for functions. So let's try this out. So we're going to say like, hey, for I, say console.log I after, we get an error because I is not defined. But then if we switch to var, still thinking. Yeah, so there it still printed it out. So you could use var, but var is not going to scope in there. Why? Var is for functions. This is not a function. This is a loop. So if you know from their language or from last week, please type into the chat the definition of a loop. What is a loop?
Danielle says, repeating code until a condition is met.
That's right. So here, how many times are we going to repeat? Well, we're going to repeat until this condition is met. So how many times will that run? What do you guys think? Yep, 4 times. Okay.
Good.
So if I say console.log I, when you predict what this will print out, what this loop will print out. And I'm going to put some space around here. I'm going to say console.log.
Saying 0, 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Let's see if they're right. Okay. We got 0, 1, 2, 3, each on a separate line. Okay. Now, we want to change our condition. We're going to combine the condition with the loop. Okay. Oh yeah, Danielle mentioned it's like less than versus less than equal to. So if we use less than or equal to, the difference here will be we'll run a fifth time, where I will be like 4 at that point. It's very easy to forget that, you know, you'll stop before you get to 4. If I get rid of some of our let, I say console.log here, that's what's printing out right here actually, is that 4. Because when it gets to 4, it stops. So that's kind of a funny thing about this. It actually goes through the next step, but then it says stop. When you also use loop through an array, we're going to loop through, so you can use this to loop through an array. We're going to do that next, Mally, and then we're going to use a different method to loop through an array, which is kind of the more modern method. Okay. So
just real quick, I wanted to
yeah.
You know, in Python, there's for and there's while loops, and for you really just use for lists, and while it is the same while you use like where you set a condition.
Mm.
And it seems like here in JavaScript, you can use for either way. Is that right?
Yeah, so for loops are basically just while loops in a way. They're saying like, hey, basically every loop, when you think about it, is kind of a while loop. Python stole the name for loop from more established languages and then was annoying enough to make their for loop really an each loop. So there's a loop that you're going to see in a minute called a forEach down at the bottom here. And that's what your for loop is. That's similar to your for loop in Python. So a for loop in Python is like forEach in JavaScript. Whereas the for loop here is basically just like your while loop from Python. Okay. Okay, so we want to print out the number only if it equals 3. What do I need to change on line 44 to make that happen? Make it 3. Make what 3? Make what 3, Chris? Yeah, the 7. Okay. Sure enough, it's 3. There we go. Okay. Let's say I was going to 40, and I only wanted numbers that were bigger than 27. What would I change line 44 to? Put your answers in the chat, guys. What would I change? I only want numbers to be printed out if they're larger than 27. Yeah, that looks good, Javier. Okay. That's good, Mally. Yep, there we go. And sure enough, we get our 40 down below here because we're always printing out the extra I. Okay, so we can also use the for loop to just walk through an array. So that begs the question, what's an array? So let me try something here. Where we go? This. I'm going to comment out stuff that's not in my for loop. And we want to comment out multiple lines. You can use slash and star and end it with star then slash. I'll just get rid of some of my extra stuff here. Got rid of my condition there. There we go. Okay. So an array is a list of stuff. It's pretty simple. It can be in order or not. You can store it in variable. So the old way of going through an array was to use a for loop. People use a setup like this, and they say, hey, I want you to stop before you get to the end of the array. In every array, like every string, there's a method called .length. So we're going to stop before we get to the end. Remember, computers always start counting at 0. So the first spot in my array is position or index 0. This is index 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I'm just going to console.log my array. Okay, this is kind of a trick question, but what is going to happen when I run this code? What's going to happen when I run this code? Answers in the chat. What do you think?
Or you can like unmute. Here, feel free to.
Yeah, you can
either.
chime in. If we're a small enough group, you can just chime in. Oh, Mally's very close. Danielle took it a step further. I think Danielle's right, but Mally pretty much understands it. So let's try it. Cool. Okay. Mally, you want to unmute and explain what happened there?
Oh yeah, I was just typing it in. I forgot that I starts at 0, not at 1. And so I was counting wrong. So like if I starts at 0, it's actually going 0. It's actually doing the loop for 0, 1, 2, 3. But the length of the array is 4. So there's actually 4 runs.
Yeah. So Mally, do you know how to just get each number? Like what if we wanted to print 2, 3, 4, 1, and not the whole array? What would I have to change on my line 46?
I actually don't think I know how to print whatever. Oh, no, you print my array and then the square bracket and then I.
Okay, let's try it. Square bracket I.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Danielle had that in chat too. So what's the difference? Why did that just print out a single number?
It's just printing out the item that's in that position in the list.
Yeah, that's a position in the list. That's right. So this is how people used to always walk through these. Okay, they say like, hey, I want to be, I really stands for index. I is frequently used in these old for loops because we're looking at index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3. Okay. This is that was used frequently so that you could have, I should say a method, right? This is a loop that was used frequently. This function was used and it doesn't depend on the data type. You can say like, hey, I have different ways of determining the length of this object. I'm just going to step through, step through, step through, step through. Then over time, languages like Ruby decide, you know, it'd be cool. What if we had methods that belong to this class, and those methods would let you iterate automatically? So you never made mistakes. You never did something by accident and said like, okay, I'll start with that and I'll go to this and then I'll run it 0, 3, 1, 4. Okay, undefined. It's a little hard to see, but you see that there? That can be a killer. If you accidentally get the length of your array wrong and you're counting on this value and it's undefined, that can really mess you up. So the developers in charge of JavaScript said, you know, it'd be neat if we just copied off other languages. It's always worked well for us before. Let's take a look and check out what they came up with. So they have something called forEach.
Ask a quick question.
Go ahead.
I've noticed in looking at existing programs that for complex types like arrays or even objects, they typically use the const, but you can still modify the variable. Is that because it's an implicit pointer to the memory location, and you can still change the contents, but you just can't change the reference?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much right. It's like basically comparison in general. That's basically because comparison in general in JavaScript is complicated, so that you, a lot of time with those complex types, you're not able to use normal comparison anyway.
I don't mean for comparison. I mean for, like, if you had const myArray.
No, I know, but like that's when you think about it, that's how const is enforced, right? You know, it's because they try the comparison, and if the comparison, like, you know, fails or doesn't fail, and then you're like, okay, like, you know, we're reassigning something. It's just like, the answer is basically to your question is yeah. You can't rely on that. So you'll see a lot of time in React examples in particular, they'll use const everywhere, but it's basically meaningless. It's just like saying like, hey, I'm gonna maintain this pointer. The pointer will be maintained basically by using let anyway. But it's, I'd say when in doubt, use let, although you'll see a lot of people in React just use const instead. I think it's clear when you're going to reassign something, even though it will let you reassign something in the array or in the object. But yeah, that one's a doozy. Okay, so for each, the syntax here is a little bit different. We have our array. Now I could just store this in a variable. It works the same way. I can say like, you know, let short array equal this array, and then say short array dot for each. There's a couple things here. One is this is our first real method we're using other than that length, which kind of feels more like an attribute. And two is I have the new fat arrow syntax. So sometimes I introduce this syntax later on. I think it's good to be able to get used to it because it's used so prevalently in new JavaScript now. For each takes an argument. So we're passing it something, just like we're passing something to console.log, or passing something to the plus sign, or greater than or less than, is to pass something. What we pass a function. So this is our first new function, really. Num is going to be our argument, and then we're going to take whatever that thing is and print it out. Okay? There's some special attributes to the fat arrow, but for now, we're just using this to define a one-line function. You can do a multi-line function even with fat arrow, just using the traditional curly brackets. So this is something that messes people up all the time in forEach, where they're doing the old syntax, which looks like this, or the new syntax, because they see this and it drives them crazy. Curly bracket, rounded bracket. This is what you should see, because we're going to finish our function, then we're finishing our list of arguments, because we're only passing in one argument here. If you're passing more than one argument, you might see something like this, like with set timeout, you'll see something like this. You pass in the function you're going to run and the time you're going to run. So function here is just an argument. This is a difficult concept, even though it's just saying run this code. It's a little complicated because we are passing functions. It's a functional approach. Many of you probably come from more of an object-oriented approach. So this has 7 instructions. Some languages even define functions as being a named piece of code. This is anonymous. There is no name. This is just a piece of code that can be called. We just like keep a pointer to this piece of code and say, hey, run this. This is basically just a value. So what is num? Num is the value in the array. So the first time through the loop, num is going to be 2. Then it's going to be 1. Then it's going to be 3. I run this here. 2, 1, 3. Let me comment out these guys. Okay. 2, 1, 3. Okay. So let's say that I wanted to write this the new way. Not much changes. Basically, you get rid of the word function and you put in the fat arrow. Now there's a special thing the fat arrow does for you, which is that, first of all, we can just do a one-liner without curly brackets. So some of you will see something like this. It looks a little bit crazy. Then add one more parenthesis. People love this because it's like, hey, it's just like this really short way of expressing the function. Another neat thing about this is it actually has implicit return. We haven't talked about return yet, but functions can do things and they can kind of say things. So console.log is a side effect. It's saying something versus like a return value. So for those of you who are familiar with JavaScript a little bit, it's like doing this. Saying, hey, return whatever comes out. Now here it doesn't matter if you're just printing something out, but we'll get to a situation where it matters in a second. Okay, so let's say that I wanted to take this array, iterate through, and then I wanted to print 4, 2, 6 instead of 2, 1, 3. How am I going to change line 62 to double each value? Num times 2 looks good. Let's try it out. Oh, wait, num times 2 in which position? This num or this num? The first one or the second one, Chris? Second, that's right. Clarity. Okay, cool. Let's play around a little bit. Maybe there's other arguments in here. I'm going to say num plus I. You read Beeb's question. For each example, use the function num, although it's not defined above. Well, that's the great thing. It's defined right there, Beeb. When you write function, or if you fat arrow, you're defining a function right there. And that's an anonymous function you're just going to use for that loop. Okay? So you don't have to define it above.
Okay, thanks a lot. Yeah.
Okay, so run this. Okay, yeah, 225. So what's happening here? What do we think is happening on line 62? Someone want to chime in? You can just unmute and go for it. Oh, Javier jumps in with the answer. Yeah, that's right, Javier. So Javier, why don't you unmute and explain what happened there?
Hello?
Yeah,
Hello?
we can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so to this fat arrow function, you can, in the parentheses, you're defining the arguments. The first one is the element that is going to be iterated over, and the second one is just the index of the array.
Mm-hmm. And is that because it's a fat arrow, or where does that come from?
I think it comes because of the method, of the forEach method.
That's right. Yeah.
And there's even a third argument, I think, which is the whole array.
There is a third argument. And what did you say about it?
I think it's the whole array.
That's right. It's the whole array. So if I say that, let's try it. This might error on. Let me see. Okay, so what happened there? Everything ends with 213, so that's the array.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why when you put the output for my array earlier, did it have the brackets, but it doesn't have the brackets when you do the array variable here?
Sorry, say that one more time.
When you output my array, when you did like console log my array, what I was output was the bracket 213 bracket. So why aren't the brackets included in the output in this function?
So here it is, because you're just doing the array. The problem is that the addition, if I add something to this, the addition operator for the array doesn't sort of behave how you would expect. As soon as I do like 1 plus the whole array, now you're going to see it concatenated like a string.
Okay.
So here's a fun thing you can do if you're unsure of what type you're dealing with. You can put this thing in parentheses here, and then use this native function called typeof. So you can see what we're dealing with each time. And it's a string at that point, actually.
So, I see. Oh, so when you add a string, it makes it a string.
Yeah, so like the array starts off as just an array that you're right will print out with square brackets. Then if you add something to it, it doesn't handle the plus sign operator. It just says like, hey, I'm going to make myself a string, you know, because JavaScript was kind of made as this language that I think they're going to interact with strings a lot. And then as a result, it's going to say like, okay, when I add something, so this one again will be square brackets, this will be fine. But then as soon as I add something to it, even if it's a number, it thinks, oh, I'm concatenating, which means the output should be a string. And that's where like, how do I concatenate? It just is, they made a decision when they said we're going to concatenate, they were going to output a string value, like do a 2s method that it doesn't have square brackets. They thought people would like that better.
So this output with the commas, 1213, is that a new array? Or is that
no, this is, that's what I was showing you the type of, is these are strings. The 1 comes from here.
Okay.
This is a string, and you can try that whenever you want with a type of. Type of is a function that lets you check what type you're dealing with. It doesn't work well. This is kind of a running theme, kind of like what Ray was talking about before. It doesn't work well with complex types like arrays and objects. They'll just call them all objects. It doesn't really distinguish there, but there's other functions you can use for that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so one of the things that you can do here, you can actually name the function and then just reuse it later. So let's say that I'm going to take this out of here. A B1 to make a function somewhere else and store it. So let's do that. I'm going to say, hey, this is, we'll call this doubler. So be our times 2. And I'll go back to just using the single num. Okay. I is not defined. Oh, I'll let you guys debug this for me. I made a mistake there. I is not defined as the error. So what do I have to change on line 62 to get this working? Who can spot the error I made? Oh, be num, yeah. I think that's right. Danielle and Ray have it, yeah. Let's try that. So these are not magical words here. You just have to avoid reserved words. But other than that, you can use whatever you want, but it has to match what you're using over here. Really, vice versa, really. This stuff has to match whatever's over here. It has to be an available variable. And that works. So how is that working? Like, what's going on here? Danielle, what do you think? What's going on line 64? How are we calling it? I got rid of my anonymous function.
Doubler is equal to what the function returns, but it's also equal to the function. Well, oh no, I'm sorry. It's not equal to the value of the output. It's actually the function. So it's running the function instead of like writing out the whole function there. And then
that's right. If we say like, hey, we're going to console.log doubler. They'll say, hey, it's the function. Okay. So if you're ever unsure, console.log stuff. So here's the function. Where are variables? They're references, they're pointers. They're saying like, hey, that's my function. That's me, that's my value rather. That value is a function. And that's by memory. Then it's saying like, hey, what should we do for each? Run this function. And that feels a little crazy when you're new to JavaScript. Because it's like, the question I get the most is, how does this know? Okay? But all it does is, says like, hey, I'm going to call. So let's talk about functions a little, just in our last few minutes. I'm just going to demonstrate a function, then take a couple questions, then we'll switch to the advanced assignment. So I'm going to make a function. I'm going to do it with new syntax. I'm going to call it like, hey, equals console.log class. Okay, so what's the difference between, well, how do I call this function now? How do I call the function? Add parentheses to what, Chris? Hey, parentheses. Okay. Yep, hey class. So if you're passing it, like we are here, no parentheses, because we're just passing the reference to the function. But if we want to run the function, parentheses. Even if we have no arguments, we use the parentheses to indicate that we are calling the function. Okay, so here's the difference between what you were saying, Danielle. If you wanted a function that returned, say I said, this is 7, and then like z equals hey, and z equals hey. Console.log. This is getting a little advanced for the intro, but you guys can be asking good questions. So I'm going to say z for z. It's kind of a language minefield here, but what's this going to print out? What do you guys think? No guesses?
4 minutes left, guys. You can do it. You can do it.
We have 7 and hey. We have hey, 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 hey. Okay. I'm running it. 7 and then the function hey. So what happened there? Who wants to take a guess?
It didn't call the function because you didn't have the parentheses. It just called what it had called before, where I guess it's just describing that the type of what that is?
Pretty close. It's saying, like, I think you were halfway there. You're right about this. I wasn't calling the function here. So it's just pointing at the function, which is just this, okay? So here's the way to think about it. If I use the parentheses, then I follow the arrow and I get whatever this returns. If I don't use parentheses, then we're just saying, hey, this whole thing is what's being passed. We're just pointing to this function.
Can you do anything with that pointing to the function?
Yeah, in fact, that's where you can say, like, hey, using this loop, you know, use it in some other function somewhere.
Okay.
You know, I can now say, so we could do this. If you say, so console.log, Z is just going to be the function, right? But then what if I do this? Z parentheses. Now I get 7. You can call it anytime you want to after that. Just use the parentheses.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you change your doubler function to take 2 parameters, num, comma, I, and change your log to be I times 2.
I times 2?
Yeah, do you get 0, 2, 4?
You get 0, 2, 4, yeah.
Okay.
Because you're taking the index, should be 0, it should be 1, it should be 2.
Right.
Yeah. And that's just because forEach knows to pass that every time. forEach is passing 3 arguments every time.
Right.
But JavaScript doesn't freak out if you don't get all 3 arguments. Yeah. Or if you don't have somewhere to pass all 3 arguments in this case, I should say. Okay, so we're going to start the advanced lesson in a minute. Take a second, think of any questions you have. And now it's a good time to just chime in on chat or just interrupt verbally, let us know.
So I'm sending you guys a message. I'm going to send another form for the class. So please look at it, you know, rate the class again. Let us know what we can do better, what we can improve, what you would like to learn or add to the class. Feel free to chat with each other here. For those of you who joined us an hour ago, you're more than welcome to stay for the intermediate/advanced section of JavaScript and keep the coding flowing. For those of you who want or need to head out now, just, you know, maybe finish or complete the form for me because it's super helpful to get feedback from you guys and to know what we can improve on. And thank you so much for joining and thank you so much for coming. Oh no, I was muted, but you can hear me. Yeah, so that's about it. So I'm just gonna put that on the chat.
And remember,
right
we
now.
have a full class coming up May 18th. If you want to take the full class.
For the advanced section, is there going to be a different link that we're
there's going to be a different link.
Okay.
There's going to be a different link, and I can send you that link right now, Nika.
Great. Okay, Javier has a question about functions. And you can stop your share screen so that other people can chat with each other.
Okay, so, and then show the correct picture of the product. Okay, so if you can see my screen, I am looking at a blue block, a yellow block, a red block, and number 1, 2, and 3. If I click on 1, then I get a unicycle. 2 is a bicycle. 3 is a tricycle. Okay? If I click on yellow, it's in yellow, blue. It changes the color. I also change based on what I click. Okay? The way this repo is set up, I am seeing my HTML results up here. I have my files on the left, and I have my HTML down. Sorry, my JavaScript console down to the right on the lower side. I like that just for returns. I can clean up all of the console.logging, so there's some extra stuff down there. So first of all, how is this happening? What is going on that is changing things? Take a guess. What do you think? Chris, you want to go first?
Well, it looks like clicking on the numbers, right? It might be like an event handler, which would display either, what are the options? Tricycle, I don't remember the three of them. It'll display like a product.
Yeah, tricycle, bicycle, unicycle.
Okay, yeah. And then the color will show you, I guess it would change like the props to show blue, yellow, or red.
Yes, you're thinking about this in terms of React. I did this all with native JavaScript, so there's no React, there's no jQuery even. Let's take a look at the code, but you're right for the most part there. So first, this is the ugliest looking part of it. I try to find short links without using like the URL shortener. I have a hash of the different, I say hash because I use Ruby a lot. This is a JavaScript object that has these different images. So first I have the outer store with the red and stuff like that, but we'll come back to that in a second. This is my JavaScript code. So I'm saying, I can get rid of my console logs here, making things a little bit messier looking. I should mention that this is not a live updating setup. You have to click run in order to get things running again. Okay, cool. So you're right about the event listeners, but how am I saying there's event listeners? Take a look. What do you think?
State that color. That target, that data set color. I don't know. I don't think I could really explain this just looking at it right now.
That's okay. Let's start with this. So I have document.querySelectorAll. Okay. So does anyone here know what document is?
Maybe.
It's a way to locate.
You keep going, Nicholas?
Yeah, it's a way to locate what we want exactly. So a lot of time we have to put document dots and to query a kind of selector that can be maybe a class, an ID.
Yeah, so that's how we're using it practically now, but document can do a lot of different things. Like Noel says in the chat, that's totally right, Noel. It's document object model, and that's stored, or rather pointed at, by the document variable. So the document variable is always available in our browser, but if you're just writing JavaScript without the browser, that may not be available to you. Likely it's not available to you. Just running some backend server in the browser, however, that will be available to you. Then, like Nicholas is saying, we can say query selector all. So there's query selector and query selector all. Does anyone know the difference between query selector and query selector all?
In this case, the query selector all, it will take all classes if there is much than one, for example. I mean, the same class.
Yeah, so this will all elements that match this selector. So if I just say like, hey, I want query selector, and I'll use this thing, we'll just get the one element back, but we want everything. We want all these elements. Query selector all is going to return a collection. Because just like we were going through in our previous class here in the beginner class, we're going to use forEach. We're going to go through that list with forEach. We're going to walk through everything that matches this selector. So this will be every item that either has .colorSelect or .wheelSelect.
Could I ask a question real quick?
Go ahead.
So is the document that's basically referring to the HTML page that this is linked to? And
yeah, well, it's the object in JavaScript that represents the HTML page.
okay, and then query selector all is selecting all of the whatever classes or whatever you're telling it to select, as opposed to query selector would just be looking for one specific one.
Yeah, so query selector all takes a string, and it's going to return all the objects all the elements, I should say, that match that query selector, which in this case is these two classes. Color select, wheel select. Slide reload on me. Cool. So what this means is that we are going to find everything that has this class or this class, but just because that's a string we passed. We could have passed, you know, an ID. We could have passed, you know, some other like descriptor of the tag type. That would have been fine also. It's just some kind of query selection. It's just like we use in CSS. Okay. So what's the forEach going to do here?
You guys can put it in the chat, or you can unmute and then talk during class. Either works fine.
Patrick, what do you think the forEach is doing?
So the forEach is basically going to go through each element.
That's
so
right.
Essentially what's it doing, it's after the query selector all, it's going to iterate through everything one by one.
That's right, and it's going to run this function. You just decide to use fat or syntax, be modern, but you know, there's nothing we care about here with the implicit return. We're just saying like, hey, this will be the element, and then this is the code we want to run, okay? And the code we want to run is going to do what? What's happening on line 29? Somebody who hasn't talked yet, what's happening on line 29? Or someone who hasn't talked in a while, that's fine too. Daniel, what do you think?
I'm not really that sure, but I think it's obviously waiting for someone to click on an object for it to obviously then find the elements.
That's totally true. That's right. You're right. Definitely the first part is totally right, which is that it's saying, hey, I want to wait till someone clicks on this element and then do the following code. Okay? So we're going to run this function once someone has clicked me, the element. That's an event listener. You'll see these not just in JavaScript in the browser, but actually like, you know, it's part of programming, looking for the, you know, this event to happen. This event loop will say, okay, if this event's happening, then do the code associated with it. Now we have E. What does E stand for?
Event.
The event, that's right. So E.target. What is E.target? Does anyone know?
Is that referring to what element's actually been clicked?
Yeah, that's the element that's being clicked. Okay. And then I have .data set. Okay, so let's look back at our HTML for a second. So I have you guys on a different REPL, which is the color starter, which doesn't have all of this. So the color starter still has some data attributes here, though. So let's look at this. In the wheels section of the page, we have data wheels equals 1. Data wheels equals 2. Data wheels equals 3. In the color section, data color equals blue. Data color equals yellow. Data color equals red. So, what is data doing for us?
Is it assigning value?
Yeah, basically we're creating a set of keys and values here, right? Whereas what's the color? It's blue. How many wheels? 1. Okay. You'll see this accessed all the time in jQuery. We use the .data method. But, you know, jQuery is slowly getting on the way out. So we want to be comfortable doing this with native JavaScript. And it also just shows off you can do it with native JavaScript. And one way to access it in native JavaScript is .dataset. This will return the data object. In the data object, you'll have different keys and values. So why would I say if e.target.dataset.color? what's the point of line 30 there?
Is it checking to see that there is actual like
If the attribute is truthy, yeah.
yeah
There's
like a value assigned.
And Ray got right. Truthy is the key word because it doesn't have to be true. It just has to exist, right, Ray? So that way, if it's been assigned, then we'll work with that color. But if we're in wheels, then that'll be false. And then we want to do something with wheels instead. I'll come back to wheels in a second. But all I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, I'm taking this variable state, which we're going to scroll back up to in a second. And we're saying the color in state is going to be e.target.dataset.color. So let's look at what state starts as. This gets a little complicated, but state basically, we're going to state in a second. State, let's think of state as an empty object for a second, okay? So when I click here, what's happening? At least so far. So Felipe says add the function to the click. If it exists, value and data color, that's right. So we're saying like, hey, if I click something that has data color in it, then assign the color. Else, assign the wheels. Okay? Not so bad. Questions so far?
Yeah, just a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Nico.
On line 28, we have L, it's a first iterator, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Then at line 29, we have E for event. It's a kind of second iterator, or it's replaced L for E, isn't it?
Yeah, that's actually a good refactor, Nico. Let's see if we can do that instead. In fact, I think I can do this here. Let's try to run it like that. Yeah, that works also, Niklas. Good call. Yeah, my code better. Does people like that a little bit better? Is that a little nicer? E that target everywhere. Maybe you'll even get rid of this extra thing I have. Let me just see real fast. Sometimes you have to run this more than once. Yeah, actually, I think they fixed something else about my code, Niklas. Good work. Okay, cool. I knew it. Yeah. Keep him around for a reason.
I like that guy.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we're assigning the color if we have the color. If we're not, we're assigning the wheels. Okay, that's not so bad. Is everyone ready for something really complicated and crazy they haven't seen before?
Sure.
Sure.
Daniel's like, yeah.
Daniel's nodding. He's watching it on YouTube, maybe. So say in the chat if you've ever heard of Proxy.
Heard of it. Yep.
Oh, yes. Okay. Well, Daniel can help us out here. So here I say Proxy. Has anyone here, other than Daniel, used Proxy in JavaScript?
Ooh, capitals. Sorry.
That's like you're yelling. Javier says no. Chris says no. Nico, no. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to observe the change that happens. So we have this object state, okay? And we want to know when this changes. So we want to know when someone made me blue or someone made me yellow, someone assigned 1 or someone assigned 2, okay? That's not an element on the page. That's a JavaScript variable. So how do we do that? Well, one way you can do it is you can set up this proxy object. Let's say so state $, is this empty object. And then I'm going to say, okay, let state without the $ equal new proxy. This is just the syntax for creating a new object. What type? Proxy type. The first argument is going to refer to the variable that we want to keep track of, whatever object that's pointing at. And the second one is going to be another object, and we're just going to mess with the setter value here. Although you could use the getter also if you wanted to. Okay? And what this is going to let us do is, instead of saying $state.color, if we just use regular state.color, we can change the original, change $state, but also run some code whenever we change it. Okay? And this is kind of cool. It's just exposing you to something new. Honestly, you could do it the same way by just having a function that says like, hey, call this function right here. And the function could also like change the state in there. But it's just kind of like a neat way of doing this in a different way. So here are the 3 arguments. First, the target. This is the $state, the original state. Then the key, that's like the .color in this case, so color is the key. And then the value, which would be blue, yellow, red. So I'm going to say, hey, look in the document, get an element by ID, it says K plus description, and change the inner HTML to that value. Okay, so I have like yellow, this changes to yellow. So let's look at that in our HTML. Here's my color description. So when I change color, color description is going to be assigned new inner HTML. What's that inner HTML going to be? It's just going to be the value, so it's going to be yellow. I'm also going to take the target, the original object, and I'm going to assign that key to that value. So color will now be yellow. And then I'm going to say, I think this is a little wider. It's kind of a long line, this one. So then I'm going to say, hey, find the element called product, and then assign it to whatever I get in the images hash that has this color and this main wheels. So let's look at that images hash, aka images object. Here it is. I have some keys. I have undefined as a key. I have red as a key, blue as a key, yellow as a key. So first I put in the color, and then I put in the number of wheels. So yellow 1 is a yellow unicycle. Yellow 2 is a yellow bicycle, et cetera, et cetera. And I just found these images online. There's nothing magical about this part. Maybe you can use an API, but I just found these images online. So I'm saying, hey, when we assign state.color to equal this, run this code, the code saying, change this word, change the original object, so we're keeping track of it. And then I want you to change the image, okay? So what this lets us do is we still know, the reason we do this part is we still want to know what the value is of the wheels when we change the color. We can't just say like, we need to keep track of the color, but not the wheels, and vice versa. So it's important we keep track of it. This one is just so we see on the page. We can get rid of that if we want. It's just, a little simpler doing the image. And this one's actually changing the image. So questions on this part? You must have questions on this part. This part's a little silly and crazy.
Can you actually go back over the like $state versus regular state? I guess that kind of went over my head a little bit.
Yes, let's just, in fact, let's change the name so we see what's going on here. So we'll call this like, real state. And then we'll say this one, real state. And then we'll call this state. For that one. Call this the proxy state. So the real state is the one that actually changes. Actually, the object actually changes. It's going to keep track of the color and the number of wheels. The proxy state is one we're going to call, but that one is in charge of calling the original, the target. And you can also just call this like real state here. I think this works also. Yeah. So the real state is the one that actually changes. It changes right here on line 23. Proxy state never changes. It just is the thing that runs, and it's going to change those two things. So that's an interesting concept of the proxy because it's nice, and new, and different. But you can also just do it this way. You can just create a function here that says something like, okay, proxy state is a function that takes an argument for a key, argument for a value, and then color would be your key, and red or blue or yellow would be your value. That'd be fine also. The point is that proxy state lets us both set the original state and then run some side effects.
What did you say V was again?
V is the value, so it's gonna be like red or blue or yellow. So K and V are just, they're just key and value. So yeah, I think, okay, yeah. Felipe, does that make sense? I mean, like, you could definitely do it the functional way. Basically, you're doing it this way so that you can write this line. So you can just say like, hey, like the color just equals this color. So for some people, that would be nicer. But yeah.
What's the significance of set colon?
So set is the key. This is an object. The second argument here is an object. So set is the key in this object, and this is like, this function's the value. So you can customize in a proxy what you want to run when you set a value. And that's what's happening here. It's like this is, and often you'll see the single equals called set instead of called equals for clarification. So it's saying like, hey, whenever I say equals, that's set. So when I run set, run this function. If you don't define it, it'll just do this line basically.
Are there other keywords that can go in there if you want to do more than one modification at the same time?
I think you can also modify the getter. I think you can modify the getter as well. Like let's say you want to know how many times someone like checked on like let's say that you're running a page, like a single page application. So instead of like recording traffic, you were just going to record how many times someone clicked on LeBron James's profile because you want to like track his popularity. You could register that. You know, you can say like, hey, every time something happens, I want this to happen. You know, or every time like someone like changes. Like let's say you're tracking things on like Wikipedia, and you're saying like, every time someone changes LeBron James's description on their thing, we want to be notified. Because if we receive a suspicious number of edits, we're going to lock the page down. Yeah, it's one possible application. But yeah, I'd be more inclined to like do it the way Felipe's talking about, just do a function instead. I thought this was something new to show you guys. So this is the final answer. But if we go back to color starter, here, you don't really have that going on yet, right? So I gave you guys the JavaScript object that has the colors and the numbers and the images. So you have the images. I gave you the CSS, and I'll just talk about the CSS really quickly. I use the color select and wheel select, just use view units. So that'll look bad on some people's screens. I just want to expose you guys to view units in case you haven't used them before. So this is like 12% of the height of the view space there, and 12% of the width. And one of the other things I like in this is that I used a placeholder image here. Placeholder.com is really cool. You can ask for a placeholder image of any size. I said 150 pixels, so even though this isn't 150 pixels exactly, that's just the placeholder image they gave me. And basically what I want you guys to do is to try to come up with your own solution, not using proxy, or you can use proxy if you want, but you know, you don't have my code in front of you, where you have the correct bike showing, or bike or unicycle or tricycle showing based on the clicks. So you have my HTML, you have my CSS, and you have my JavaScript object. So what are we going to do to make this happen, starting from scratch? Where would you guys start? Felipe, what do you think? Where would you start? No? Nobody?
I'm wondering whether there needs to be a basic depending on which one you click on. So for example, if you click on blue to start with, it comes up with the default setting. If you click on one to start with, it comes up with the default setting and so on, and you build on top of that maybe?
Sure, so let's start with that. So we're gonna say like, we're gonna have state, and I'm gonna say that our default will be color is blue, and wheels will be 1. Okay? Is that look good, Daniel?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where do you guys want to go next? What do we want to react to here?
We want it to react to a click, right?
Yeah. And then, so how we do that?
We can write it. We use a function, like an Onclick function.
Okay. So we just saw some my code a few minutes ago. How we write that click listener in the function?
I don't remember. Would you assign it to a variable?
You don't have to assign it to a variable necessarily, but what's the variable that we have that lets us access the document and assign that listener? Noel coming through there, document.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so Noel says document.querySelector. Okay. So what we're going to put in our query selector? Noel or anyone else? We're going to put in the query selector.
Is this where would you do query selector all and then add the two classes?
Yeah, so I should just be clear, query selector will work with 2 classes even here. We use query selector all for a different reason, but let's just take a look. This is the selector we were talking about before. Color selector, wheel select. Those are 2 classes. Let's play with like this first, and we'll see if we have to add all. So I'm going to say, hey, if someone selects these, then we'll just say like document, we found color select and wheel select. So what are color select and wheel select? They are elements. They are, well, color select and wheel select are classes that are a part of these elements, these rectangles right here. So we found the rectangles. Now what do we have to do?
I think this is where we added a forEach.
Well, we did the forEach there, kind of, but we're saying Nico's right. We're doing the click. We could just do the click here. So we say like, okay. There's different ways to do this kind of stuff. We say, now we're going to have to think about the forEach in a second, but for now we'll just do the add event listener. Okay. And what kind of event listener was that, Nico?
Click.
Click. And I'm just going to say, hey, we're going to do a function. I'm going to say console.log hi. Okay. Let's run this code. This is hi. So this is hi when I click the blue square, but nowhere else. Okay. So why is this hi when I click the blue square, but nowhere else?
State, we're gonna have blue.
No, we can change that. Let's change that to yellow. And still only the blue one.
Noel says it grabs the first element.
That's right. So what do we have to change, Noel?
Make it query selector all if you want all of them, or if you want to do it one by one, you can make it.
Yeah, query selector all. And this is where we did our forEach that Chris was talking about. So why forEach here, Chris?
Because you want it to be able to like, I guess pass through, I don't know if it's the values of each of the like either the wheels or the colors.
Yeah, we want to go through each one of these. And Noel told us that if you use query selector, we're just assigning the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So query selector all, we get everything. You can't actually do add event listener to an array, and query selector all returns an array of elements. So instead, we're going to walk through that array using forEach, which we learned in our beginner lesson. It's going to loop through each element, and we're going to take each element, and we're going to add an event listener to that element. Say, hey, you're getting an event listener, you get one, you get one, you get one, you get one. Everything that matches this query selector. We're missing parenthesis, query selector. For each. Maybe down here. Let's try that again. L is not defined. For each, oh. Yeah, I just wanted this. There we go. Okay. So still get high for blue, but now we also get for yellow, for red, for 2, for 3, for 1. Okay, questions so far? Okay, so let's leave this part alone for a second. And right now I'm not showing an image. I want to be able to show an image. So we need to have this display a yellow unicycle to start. Because our state is start with yellow, 1 wheel. How are we going to do that?
Just gonna use your images, right?
Yeah, we're gonna use my
Yellow-
image.
yellow
That's
one.
right. We're gonna use my images hash. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So we're gonna take the images hash, aka the images object, and then what?
Like a specific image tag in JavaScript or something.
We find our image tag that we're working with, right? So this image tag here starts with the placeholder. So using JavaScript, how do we grab this image and change the image, the tag?
How do we change it?
Yeah. You grab this element and change the source.
Wasn't it the proxy one that you were saying about earlier?
No, because that's we were breaking it down because proxy actually doesn't do the change. We're inside the proxy. We made the change. But like Noel was saying, we can grab it with document. We're going to actually do this one without the proxy.
Get element by ID on product.
Yeah, so Ray and Noel are right. We're going to grab element by ID, get element by ID, and we're going to look for product. And you can use the query selector here too and just use hash product. That's fine. Okay, and then this part you may not have memorized is just dot source equals. You can do that with the attribute there. So I'm going to say, hey, let's make it this image to start with. I'm just going to copy this string. Okay, so I started off with a yellow bicycle that's close. How do I start off with the yellow unicycle, which is what I want?
Get the other string.
The other string. Okay, which string, Nico?
Yellow one.
Yellow one. Okay. Let me switch this one out here. On that. Cool, yellow unicycle. So if this is yellow one, what's another way I could write this instead of writing out the whole string?
Did you just call like data set?
Forget data set now. We're just in here with, we have images.
Key value hash.
Yeah, it's a key value in hash. So what's the name of the hash?
Yellow.
Nah, well, that is the key. That's the key. But what's the name of the hash outside of yellow?
Images.
Images.
Images. That's right. All right, images. Okay. Then what's my first key?
Color.
One.
No, I don't see any color. I don't see any keys called color. I see undefined, red, blue, yellow.
Red, blue,
One.
yeah.
Yellow.
Yellow.
All of the things.
Okay. So I run this. This is going to error out on me, right? Why?
The hash is a two-dimensional array, so you need square bracket 1.
Okay, square bracket 1. Cool. Okay, so that's right. That starts me with the right default value. But
Felipe's got it.
right. Yeah, good job, Felipe. So Felipe says images, state.color, state.wheels. That's good. So we'll just call this. Okay, cool. Run this again so we get the same thing. Yep. That was good. Let's change it and see if it works. So I'll make this tricycle. Okay, cool. Tricycle, that works. Okay, so now we want a function that can change that on the fly. Because what if someone clicks, like someone clicks blue or clicks 2, and we want to reassign it?
Does it need to be if? Or
What was that?
Else?
You need an if else.
Okay, so where would we put, I don't know if we need the if else yet. If else might be for in here. Yeah, let's come back to line 23 in a second. Keep line 23 in mind. We're going to use it again. Let's go back down to what happens when we click things. There is some if-else logic that happens there. So I'm going to make this multi-line. So curly brackets, just remind you, will get rid of your implicit return, but sometimes you need more than one line. Usually you do. Okay, so if what?
If you gotta basically check the elements data sets.
Okay, element.dataset. For what? What are we checking it for?
Well, we're going to check for number of wheels as well as color.
Okay, so let's start with this. We'll check if wheels exist. Okay, console.log wheels. Okay, run this. So what do we expect to happen now when I click around on things?
Should print out wheels.
When?
When you click,
on it?
a number.
That sounds good to me. Wheels, wheels, wheels. But it doesn't click when I hit colors. That looks pretty good. Okay, so now instead of logging just the word wheels, I would like to log the number of wheels for the thing I clicked on. What do you think, Chris?
Number of wheels?
Yeah.
So console log element data set dot. So you're trying to print out what again? The wheels and the color?
Just the wheels for now.
Data set dot. I don't remember. What would that be?
Nicolas says wheels. Let's give it a shot. Okay. 1 wheels, 2 wheels, 3 wheels. Okay, so let's take a look at what's happening here. I just print out element.dataset.
Is that how you spell wheels?
Yeah, it's weird, huh?
That's such a weird word.
That happens when you program sometimes. So look, this is what happens if I print out the whole data set. Okay?
The object.
It's just an object that has the key wheels, the value 1, value 2, value 3. But I just want the wheels. So I'm going to say instead of element.dataset, I'll say element.dataset.wheels. Remember, in JavaScript, you can access an object through the square brackets or through the dot syntax. So now when I click, it's 1, 2, 1, 1. Okay. So now I can click and get the number of wheels. That's pretty cool. Let's do an else. Okay. So what do I want to? I want to print out the colors in my else. So what should I type here? What do you guys think?
Same thing as console.log l dataset.color.
Catch. Okay, let's run this. Blue, yellow, red. Cool. Okay. What do you guys want to do next? Again there?
And print the picture.
You need to change the picture. So this comes back to line 23.
Oh.
We want to run that line of code again. And we want to change the state. Keep track of things.
So you just do, you put that.
You have to change, you have to set the state to what is being provided when you click.
Okay, so Chris is saying state color, change that
to element.dataset.color.
Okay. And, or I did that with, that should be down here actually, because it's the color. This should be here. And this one should actually be wheels, right? So we're going to say, hey, change the state, but it only gets us halfway there, right? Nothing's changing. So what do we have to do now?
We actually have to
Copy line 23 inside the if loop.
Okay, let's try that. Copy this line. And we're going to say, like, after we run the if loop, you want it there or higher up?
I think that should be okay there.
Okay. There we go.
Yay!
I think that's kind of simpler and nicer than my version, actually. I got to show you guys the proxy thing. I think this is kind of a little easier. Okay, so that was the planned lesson. What are your questions? Do I have more resources on proxy? You know, I don't have anything ready for you all, but I can research that and send that to you. It was just like something fun that I thought about using today. I don't honestly have a great resource for it. But I can totally look that up for you, Noel. Other questions? Oh, you can get the, if you reload the color starter link, you'll now have all the code that I did during the lesson. I want to take a look at that. I encourage you to do this your own way and try to mess around. I think it's fun to start from scratch, pick a new product, just find some images, make that work, deal with things like quantities. One thing I thought about doing was having limited quantities with you guys and having you like have to deal with that, but I thought this would be complicated enough. Other questions?
So if you're going to do it, how would you have to alter this if you were to not use query selector all? If you just wanted to use query selector?
Well, what you'd have to do is you have to say like, I'm going to do a query selector for each single one of those.
Okay, so just run one, basically one for wheels and one for color.